Hi all, Andrew again. Today I want to make a video asking the question, is big tech destroying our society? If you're like me, you're a middle-aged person and you distinctly remember the time before the internet, before cell phones and before email. Now, all that stuff is great. No one can argue that the internet and technology companies haven't greatly added value to our society. The ease of which some business is done today, the speediness of transactions, the marketplaces that have opened up online, allowing you to purchase something without getting up off of your chair and have it delivered. I mean, that's incredible. I can only imagine that at some point in the future, or some point in the past, I was 45 years old and I wanted to look up a former classmate. I'd probably have to pull out my yearbook, call the high school, find out who's in charge of that class committee, call or perhaps write them a letter and bring it to the post office requesting possibly information about someone that they might not give to me. Now, type their name into Google or Facebook and you can probably reconnect. So that's all positive. But what about the negatives? I have a 9-year-old daughter who has been asking for a cell phone for the past 5 years. We have not given her one. I do not want her to have access to the internet beyond, the kids' Netflix or whatever other like kid-centered channels that are just blocked, supposedly blocking out everything else that's out there. But inevitably, my daughter will get a phone. She will have access to the internet. And she is going to potentially open herself up to 24/7 harassment and bullying. Think about it in terms of like when we were children. If you had a bad day at school, you went home and maybe your mom was there and, you'd cry or something, and that's pretty much the end of it. You go back to school the next day, like people probably didn't remember what happened and there's other things going on. Imagine being 12 years old, 15 years old, and getting bullied all day at school, then walking home and your freaking phone has all those people on it that are still calling you names and making fun of you on some sort of a group text. I mean, that's terrible. It just doesn't end. So that's a major concern for me as my daughter gets older, that I don't want her to buy into this artificial world of bullying. So bullying aside, how else has big tech contributed to the demise of our society? There was a Netflix special with Stavros, is that his name? The heavyset Greek man. And he was talking about how big tech had basically stolen jobs like cab driving. And that's very true. Now, I don't think anybody really thought much about it when Uber came along, or like Halo. If you remember Halo, that was one of the other rideshare apps that quickly demised. And no one ever thought that this was going to lead to like a complete demise of the cab industry. I was living in Boston at the time, and if you wanted to drive a cab, you had to pay like 300 grand for a medallion that would signify that this is an official cab. And there's always these horror stories in the paper about the like gypsy cabs or pirate cabs who would pick up women outside of bars, or just be a regular person with their private car, like, hey, would you like a ride? I'll drive you somewhere for $20, and then they murder you. That was reinforced constantly. Don't ever get into a car that's not an official cab. Now here we are. I mean, when was the last time you got into a cab? I know the model wasn't perfect, but now we just get into strangers' cars all the time. And Uber and big tech were able to just absolutely smash that model of business almost overnight. I mean, it was a few years and all those cab drivers were out of business. I see it moving into the direction of food delivery. Obviously, it's here. There's Grubhub and whatever other delivery apps, Uber Eats. I don't use these. I prefer to circumvent them, and I'll actually just go down and pick up the food directly from the local pizza shop. I've become aware that like some of those apps are going to force that local pizza shop to advertise prices and deals that are actually below their overhead. So they lose money on those products that they're selling you to, but they have no choice if they don't participate with Grubhub or Uber Eats. They will just lose out on so much business, they'll go out of business. So right now, big tech is stepping on your local pizza shop. So they killed the local cab driver. Now they're trying to kill the local pizza shop. So far, we've discussed that big tech has decided they're going to make bullying a 24/7 occupation for some people, and that they're starting to dismantle the lower end of the economy in your local town, in all of our local towns. So where does this go to next? Perhaps the first thing that fell apart or was dismantled by big tech was Main Street USA. Amazon comes along, and no longer can that little hardware store down the street stay in business. There's no way they can have everything in stock that you want. You might have to go down there and order something, and we'll get that for you next Saturday. That's not good enough anymore. Those shops are closed. Amazon is the new everything for shopping. 2024, now we all know what AI means. Whether or not we're actually dealing with artificial intelligence or just high functioning, quick learning computer programs, I don't know. I did moving. I'm making YouTube videos in my basement. These are not questions for me to answer, but we can discuss them. So have any of you seen the deep fake video of, I believe it's Nixon giving a press conference on the moon landing or the Mars landing? It's Nixon giving a press conference on like NASA landing on Mars. It never happened, but if you were to see that video without an understanding of what was going on in the history of our country on this planet, you'd be like, oh, this guy Nixon was the president, and yeah, he's talking about how we just landed on Mars. It never happened, but the video is there. The video looks authentic. I'm not talking about like that fake moon landing one where like it was a black and white film where people were pretending to be filming the lunar landing. I mean, that was some, no offense, that's some lowbrow dumb stuff. This came out of MIT. So now we know that this is possible. So now we have to understand that anything that you're watching online may be completely fabricated. And I mean, not like a news story getting it wrong, but like the actual video that you're watching on YouTube might never have happened. So that's what we're looking at going forward. And in the 2024 presidential election year right now, we are certainly all being exposed to a massive amount of fake news and propaganda, which is now being driven by big tech and AI. Now, I'm sure I can't hit on every single part of the problem that big tech has caused for us. So let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Tell me how you think big tech is causing problems in our society beyond the bullying, beyond the economic development, and beyond the propaganda and deep fakes that we're all going to be seeing pretty soon everywhere around us. Thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time, take care.